Good morning, this is Mayor Valensky with Driving Markets. Let's just do a quick sum up of what happened yesterday in financial markets. So, you've got the market slightly down, not really that much, a little bit down, 120, 130 points on the Dow. The Nasdaq was down about 112 points. The S&P was down, so it was a little bit down. Oil was up and bonds were up. Okay, so 10-year Treasury bond went up to 2%. Let's go into a little bit more detail on that particular issue, and then we'll discuss something really big came out yesterday regarding Amazon. So as regards US Treasuries, the 10-year, the yield jumped to 2%. Why did it jump to 2%? Because CPI, Consumer Price Index, in the States came out at 7.9%. I actually stated on Monday that I expected 8.1%, so I was completely wrong on that one. Take note. However, inflation in the States, that is the measure of inflation. Inflation in the States, it is a 40-year high, and we haven't seen the end of it. The inflation is going to go to double digits by July. I'm putting my name and reputation and neck on the line here by stating that. It's going to go to double digits by July. What's the reasons behind it? Obviously, you've got the geopolitical reasons behind it with the war in Ukraine, which is raging, and there's no end in sight regarding that particular war. And in my opinion, it's only a wild opinion, but in my opinion, it could actually spread. And why would it spread beyond Ukraine? Because Putin is being put in the corner by the Europeans and the Americans and the West with the sanctions, economic sanctions, and causing him maybe to take drastic or dramatic action. Just make a note of that. God forbid it should expand, but it could expand. And those people that are suffering in Ukraine are going through hell. So let's just go through back to where we are on inflation. So you've got the underlying driving force with inflation, which is the metals, commodities, and oil. All of those are soaring higher. And remember, the CPI for this particular month is based on action before the war. Wait till next month when we start seeing the real prices come through as a result of oil, palladium, nickel, gold, silver, and all the other metals. And that does not include all the soft commodities, which is corn, barley, and wheat. So next month's CPI could be running at 8.5 to 9%. Now, what are the central banks going to do about that? At the moment, they've done nothing. And it looks like the rate increase in March based on the Fed's notes will be around about 0.25%. That is trash. It's just simply not enough to tackle inflation. They are well behind the curve, and as a result, they're just going to allow inflation to run riot, and then they'll have to take more draconian measures towards the end of the year. So again, I'm stating that by the end of the year, interest rates in the States and in the UK and maybe in Europe, but definitely UK and the US, will be running between 4 and 5%. A wild, wild, wild estimate by anyone's standards, but I'm going for it, and I want to state that is an actual fact. Okay, or that's my opinion, I should say. Let's go on to Amazon. Amazon announced yesterday a 20-for-1 split. So for every one share you're holding of Amazon, you're going to get 20 new shares. That does not add particular value to any holding that you've got. However, what does happen is that stock becomes effectively cheaper in the financial markets and the stock market. By becoming cheaper, it becomes more attractive. So those people who are not familiar with Amazon, who have not traded Amazon, who want to buy it, they will look at it and say, you know what, let's buy it. It makes between $1 and $200 a share. Let's buy it. And the probability is that Amazon will rise again. Okay, so 20-for-1 split on Amazon was significant news yesterday. In addition to that, you also had certain falls in banks. One of them was Goldman Sachs, who are now closing all operations in Russia. And the other one is JP Chase. Now, Goldman Sachs is the first bank to close operations in Russia. You have to be aware that all the banks in Europe, in UK and US have got exposure to Russia. And as a result, they will have a significant decrease in their asset value. So be aware that anyone who's got exposure to Russia could be affected short term or medium term, depending on how long this crisis is going to go on. Another significant bit of news yesterday was Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea, was sanctioned. That means he cannot sell Chelsea. He cannot sell, the Chelsea club cannot sell any new merchandise, and they can't even sell any new football tickets to anyone to attend the games. Unless you're already holding a ticket, you cannot buy new tickets that would add revenue to Chelsea. In addition to that, their overseas travel on non-home games is being capped at £20,000 in expenses. How long is it, do you think, before Chelsea's footballers make the big exodus out of Chelsea over to other clubs? And that's just a sporting issue. However, the sporting issue also reflects globally what's happening around the world financially. So just as you've got the sporting sector being affected, you've got the financial sector is significantly affected with the sanctions, and you haven't seen anything yet. The sanctions have only just started. Also, I spoke to a very senior colleague who's got some great input, and he said the reason why Wednesday the price of oil dropped significantly, which is great input, and I really appreciate it, Phil, is that the Iraq mentioned that they've got 7% spare capacity, which apparently is huge when it comes to oil. And therefore that caused the oil price to drop because of that spare 7% capacity within the Iraqi production. And also the UAE has called for an OPEC urgent meeting in order to increase production to combat the high price of oil. So that's most of this summary of driving markets. If you need to get hold of me, contact me on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, on Instagram. I'll just send this on Instagram as well. You can subscribe, you can like. The likes are pretty rubbish. I'm only getting like 10 or 12 likes, which is interesting considering there's good positive feedback by most people. So Mayor Valensky with Driving Markets. Have a good weekend, good Shabbos, and we look forward to speaking to you on Sunday. All the best.